Hello YouTube, I'm Toby and I am finally back. Now for those of you that were wondering, I spent a little while in Iraq, nothing special, but I'm finally back in Denmark, ready to do another project for you guys. Now the thing is that my home theater PC, the one that's hooked up to my TV, is starting to get a little bit slow and I don't really think it looks that good anymore. And thus I decided I wanted to build a new one. So before we get into the actual build, let's just take a look at these components by themselves. Now the first component that we take a look at is the case. This is the Thermaltake Core V1 or something like that. It is a mini ITX case, and as you can see it's actually quite open. There is a 200mm fan in here. We'll be switching it out for one with a blue LED in it. It's got a little plastic glass thing on top. As you can see, it really is quite open. You can see the power supply goes on the bottom, ITX board goes right here, and there's room for two 80mm fans up here. I'm not sure if I'm actually gonna use these. I did actually purchase some 80mm fans, but I don't think I'll be using them. So this right here is the ASRock B350 ITX motherboard that I'll be using in this system. It is an AM4 platform. And I did go with a Ryzen processor actually, but we'll be taking a look at that a little bit later. As you can see, this actually has built-in Wi-Fi, which is kind of nice for such a small form factor. It's also got two HDMI ports, a USB 3, some USB 2, and I believe that's USB Type-C. That's not important though. There is a full-size PCIe 16X slot right here. As you can see, it's reinforced. I'm not going to be using this. Again, you'll know why later. It's also got two RAM slots, but we're only going to need one of them. Now for the power supply, I went with the Corsair VS350. It's a 350 watt power supply, so nothing special, but this is going to be a low power system, so I don't really see a reason to get something more more expensive and with a higher voltage watt rating. Also, this thing is non-modular, so it's not really going to be that much of an issue. Might cause a few issues with the cable management, but we will get to that when we actually get to it. Now for RAM, I went with a single stick of 8GB Fury HyperX DDR4. This is rated at 266 MHz. I think this will be plenty for a home theater PC. Now for storage, I went with a single Kingston SSD. This has 240 GB. It should be plenty for a system like this. And this right here is the 200mm blue LED fan from Cooler Master. Now it does say that this should be somewhat silent, which I am actually hoping this system will be. If not completely silent, just at least quieter than the one I'm using right now. And these are the two 80mm fans that I bought, but I'm probably not going to use them since I only have one fan header to spare after I've used the CPU one. So I kind of figured that I did not want to use a splitter, and also these might be a little bit too loud for what I'm looking for. And finally we have the AMD Ryzen 3 2200G. This is kind of an APU with Vega graphics inside it. I actually, first when I started looking into this project, I wanted to build a Ryzen system, so that's pretty good right here, but I actually looked into getting a dedicated graphics card and just one of the regular Ryzen chips, but I figured for a home theater PC I'm really not going to need much more than this. Also, it might draw a little bit less power if I'm only using the processor to do all the video and all the good stuff. Furthermore, I figured that just having as few fans in the system as possible would make it just that much more quieter. And the cooling solution that came with the processor already has a thermal paste on it, so there's no really need to apply some new. Alright, so these are the components for the build. Everything that's left to do is pretty much just build the thing, which is also the funniest part. Alright YouTube, so the system is actually complete now and it's running stable. Now it wasn't running stable when I was first done with it. It kept crashing all the time. I've actually spent the last couple days troubleshooting the issues regarding this thing. Now the issues that I had were pretty basic, a blue screen of death. I had one during the installation of Windows 10 and then for the entire day when I was done with it, it just kept crashing. It was not stable at all. Now I tried a bunch of things during my troubleshooting, some software, safe mode and all that, but nothing seemed to work. And it wasn't until I exchanged the RAM stick that it actually ran stable. So as it turns out, the issue was this HyperX Fury 8GB stick of DDR4. Now what I have in the system right now is just 4GB of Vengeance DDR4 RAM. Now due to the fact that I only have 4GB in here, I'll not be doing any gaming benchmarks today. We will, however, be running the Cinebench test just to see what kind of score we get. Now, furthermore, I may have mentioned that this thing only had 2 fan headers on the motherboard. It actually has 3. It's got 2 for the system fans and then 1 for the CPU fan. But as I explained before, I really don't see a need for the 2 80mm exhaust fans. The 200mm intake fan is more than enough to supply adequate air for this system. So without further ado, let's jump to Cinebench R15. Alright, so the Cinebench test is running. I'm not going to show you the whole thing. I don't think you guys will find that very interesting, but yeah, as you can see over by the side, well, I'm not sure if you can see it, but the processor and the integrated GPU is showing up, so that's a great sign. But I'll get back to you once the test is done. Alright, the test has finished and we got 554 Cinebench points, which I am actually very happy about. This is way more than I expected from a Ryzen 3 processor. Alright, so now we're currently running the OpenGL benchmarking test. Just shortly I'll just fast forward through the actual test and I'll just jump straight to the results. Alright, so we got 35.5 frames per second, which is pretty good actually. I expected lower. I haven't really used the OpenGL test much, so but I think that's good. Alright, so my final thoughts on this build. I honestly love this case a lot more than the other one. I think it looks way better than the old, I can't even remember what it was called, but looks a lot better. Now I really hope that it will be more quiet, but it's not something you notice once the TV is running with the sound and all that, you know, watching a movie. But if it's just running in the background, you can definitely hear the intake fan. Now currently I'm going to try and get a hold of the website that sold me the bad RAM stick, and I'm going to see if I can get a new one. I'm not going to do any gaming benchmarks with just 4GB of RAM in the system. That's not really a fair test. I want at least 8GB before I do any gaming benchmarks. Now for something entirely different, I have an old HTPC 5850 laying around, and I've actually bought a GT 1030 for it, and a guy named Gridden92, I believe it was kind enough to send me a quad-core processor that would fit in it. So I'm figuring that will be my next project. I really hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you very much for watching.